The sun was just clearing the eastern hills when Sam Garrison rode into San Rafael's town square. He hadn't planned to come today, had fence posts to set, a lame mare to check, but the sound of iron wheels on dirt carried far in the morning stillness, and when he'd heard them from his ranch, something in his gut told him to ride. The crowd was already gathered, 20, maybe 30 people, clustered near the livery. Their voices were low but excited. The way folks sound when they're watching something they shouldn't enjoy, but do. Sam dismounted and tied his horse to the rail. The smell hit him first. Unwashed bodies, dust, and something sharper, fear. Then he saw the wagon. It was a prison transport, iron bars welded to a flatbed. Inside, a woman sat on bare wood, her wrists in manacles. Her long black hair hung loose over her shoulders. And even from 30 feet away, Sam could see the dark stains on the metal where the cuffs had rubbed her skin raw. She didn't look at the crowd, just stared straight ahead, jaw tight. Federal Marshal Dobbs stood beside the wagon, reading from a paper. His voice was flat, official. Harboring hostile Apache in violation of relocation order. Subject to be transported to San Carlos Reservation. The crowd murmured. Someone spat into the dirt. Sam pushed forward. His heart was pounding now, though he couldn't say why. He didn't know this woman, didn't know why she mattered. Then Virgil Kane stepped out of the crowd. He was a tall man, well-dressed in a wool suit despite the heat. His silver pocket watch caught the sunlight as he pulled it from his vest, checked the time, and slipped it back. He said something to the marshal, too quiet for Sam to hear, and the marshal nodded. Kane's eyes swept the crowd and landed on Sam. He smiled. Sam's hands curled into fist. The marshal banged his fist on the wagon. "Move out in 5 minutes." That's when the woman turned her head, her dark eyes locked onto Sam's. For a moment, the square went silent. Even the horses seemed to hold their breath. Her lips moved. No sound came out, but Sam read the words, "The creek." Then, the marshal climbed onto the driver's bench, and the wagon lurched forward, 3 weeks earlier. Sam woke to the sound of breathing that wasn't his own. He froze. The barn was still dark, just a sliver of dawn light creeping through the gap in the door. He'd come out to check on the mare before breakfast, same as every morning. But now, from somewhere above in the loft, came the soft rasp of someone trying very hard to stay quiet. His hand went to the pitchfork leaning against the stall. "I know you're up there," he said. His voice came out steady. "Come on down." Silence, then a rustle of hay. A shadow moved behind the bales stacked near the ladder. "I've got a rifle in the house," Sam lied. "And I'm a patient man, but not a stupid one." More silence. Then a voice, female, tight with fear. "Don't come up." Sam set the pitchfork down slowly. "Not planning to. But you can't stay in my barn without me knowing why." A long pause. The horses shifted in their stalls, uneasy. One of them nickered softly. "They're hunting me," the voice said. "Who is?" "Soldiers, marshals, anyone Kane pays." Sam's jaw tightened at the name. He'd heard it plenty lately. Virgil Kane, the landman from town. Bought up half the territory in the past 2 years. Or so folks said. Always had legal papers to back it up. "What'd you do?" Sam asked. "I escaped." The shadow moved again, and this time he saw her. Just the outline. Thin, crouched low like an animal ready to bolt. Something metallic glinted in her hand. A knife, probably. "From where?" "Relocation wagon, 3 days ago." Sam exhaled slowly. Apache. That explained the fear. He'd seen the wagon trains rolling through, iron cages packed with families. Government said it was for their own safety. Sam figured that was a lie wrapped in a law. "You heard anyone getting away?" "No." "Steal anything?" A bitter laugh. "They stole everything from me first." Sam rubbed his face. This was trouble. The kind that got a man's ranch burned, his name ruined. But the alternative was turning her over, and he'd never been the kind to do that. "Come down," he said quietly. "I'll make coffee." Another long silence. Then slowly she descended the ladder. Her feet were bare, wrapped in strips of cloth. Her dress was torn at the hem, dusty and stained. When she reached the bottom, she turned to face him, the knife still in her hand. She was young, mid-20s maybe. Her eyes were sharp, watchful, exhausted but not broken. Then he saw what she was clutching in her other hand. A wooden stake, about a foot long, carved with symbols. Some he recognized as Spanish, others he didn't. "What's that?" he asked. She looked down at it, then back at him. "Proof." "Of what?" "That this land isn't just yours." The kitchen was small, just a table and a stove. Sam poured 2 cups of coffee and set one in front of her. She wrapped both hands around it, but didn't drink. The smell of the brew filled the room, bitter, strong, familiar. He sat across from her and waited. After a moment, she set the steak on the table between them. Up close, he could see the carvings more clearly. Spanish words along one side. Apache symbols along the other. And at the top, a date, 8948. My father made this, she said. When the treaty was signed, the government said our people could keep the grazing lands along the creek. Spanish land grant, recognized by Mexico, recognized by the United States. She touched the markings gently. He carved both languages so no one could say they didn't understand. Sam leaned forward. What creek? The one that runs through your ranch. His stomach dropped. He'd bought this land 5 years ago, legal deed, signed and sealed, paid $200 for it. Every cent he had after his wife died. The creek was the eastern boundary. Clear water, cottonwood shade, the best part of the whole property. That creek's mine, he said carefully. Got the papers to prove it. She met his eyes. So do I, or I did, before Kane took them. The name again. Sam's hands tightened around his cup. He came to my father in 73, she continued. Her voice was quiet, controlled. Said the territory needed the land for the railroad. Offered $20. My father refused. 2 weeks later, soldiers came, said we had to relocate. My father showed them the treaty, the grant, everything. They burned it. And the stake? I hid it. My father told me to, before they took him. Her voice cracked, just slightly. He died on the wagon north. Never made it to the reservation. Sam looked down at the markings. The wood was old, weathered. The carvings deep and deliberate. This wasn't something made in haste. If what you're saying is true, it is. Then neither of us has a clear claim. She nodded slowly. That's why Kane wants me gone. If I talk, if anyone listens, the whole deal falls apart. He sold your land to you, but he didn't own it to sell. Sam sat back. Outside, a rooster crowed. The world was waking up, ordinary and unconcerned. What's your name? He asked. Kaya. I'm Sam. He pushed his coffee aside and looked at her straight. You can stay here until we figure this out. But if Kane's looking for you, we don't have much time. Kaya's hand moved to her wrist, touching the raw skin there. A nervous habit, he guessed. Why would you help me? Sam thought of his wife, the cholera, the way the doctor had shaken his head and said there was nothing to be done. How he'd buried her on a hill overlooking the creek because she'd loved the sound of the water. Because right's right, he said, even when it's inconvenient. Kaya studied him for a long moment. Then, for the first time, her shoulders dropped just a little. Not trust, not yet, but maybe the beginning of it. She picked up the coffee and drank. Outside, in the distance, the sound of hoofbeats echoed across the valley. Sam hitched the wagon just after dawn. Kaya sat beside him, a shawl pulled low over her hair. They'd agreed, if anyone asked, she was a cousin from Tucson, here to help with the ranch. It wasn't much of a story, but it was all they had. The ride into San Rafael took an hour. The dirt road cut through open country, mesquite and sage on both sides. Neither of them spoke much. Sam kept his eyes on the horizon, watching for dust clouds. Kaya kept her hands folded in her lap, the survey stake wrapped in cloth and tucked under the seat. When they reached the edge of town, Sam pulled the wagon to a stop. You sure about this? He asked. Kaya nodded. If we don't file a claim now, Kane will have everything locked up. Once the railroad deal closes, there's no fighting it. Sam clicked his tongue, and the horses moved forward. The land office sat on the corner of Main Street, a narrow building with a false front and a faded sign. Next door was the bank. Kane's Bank, everyone called it, though officially it belonged to some outfit in Prescott. Sam had been inside once to pay down his loan. The air had smelled of cigars and old money. They climbed down from the wagon. Sam offered his hand to help Kaya, and she took it. Her palm was rough, calloused, working hands. Inside, the land office was dim and cluttered. Maps covered the walls, curling at the edges. A clerk sat behind a desk, scratching notes into a ledger. He looked up when they entered, his eyes narrowing slightly when he saw Kaya. Help you? He asked. Sam stepped forward. Need to file a land claim. Disputed ownership. The clerk set down his pen. What property? Section 12, Range 4, the Garrison Ranch. The man's eyebrows lifted. That's already registered. Deed's on file. I know, but there's a prior claim. Sam gestured to Kaya. Spanish land grant from 48. We've got documentation. The clerk's face went flat. He stood slowly, brushing dust from his vest. Wait here. He disappeared through a door at the back. Sam heard low voices murmuring. The smell of tobacco drifted into the room. Kaya shifted beside him. He's getting Kane, she whispered. Probably. We should leave. Too late for that. The door opened. The clerk returned, and behind him came Virgil Kane. He was tall and well-dressed, his suit pressed, his boots polished. His silver pocket watch chain glinted as he walked. He smiled when he saw Sam, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Mr. Garrison?" he said warmly. Didn't expect to see you today?" "Mr. Kane." Kane's gaze slid to Kaya. His smile thinned. "And who's this?" "A friend," Sam said. "I see." Kane folded his hands behind his back. "The clerk tells me you're filing a dispute. That's unusual. Your deed's been clear for 5 years." "New information?" Sam said. He reached down and unwrapped the survey stake, setting it on the counter. "Spanish land grant, 1848. Recognized under the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo." Kane looked at the stake like it was a snake. His jaw tightened, just for a second. Then the smile returned. "Interesting," he said. "May I?" He picked up the stake, turning it over in his hands. His fingers traced the carvings. "Where did you get this?" "Does it matter?" Sam asked. "It does, if it's a forgery." Kaya's voice cut in, sharp and clear. "It's not." Kane's eyes locked onto hers. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then he set the stake down gently. "Well," he said, "this is quite the claim, but I'm afraid there's a problem." He turned to the clerk. "Bring me the file for Section 12. The clerk hesitated, then pulled a leather binder from the shelf. Kane opened it and leafed through the pages. He stopped on one, smiled, and turned the binder around to face Sam. "This," Kane said, tapping the paper, "is a deed for the same property. Registered June 3rd, 1876. Sam leaned forward. The document looked official. Stamps, seals, signatures. It listed a seller, Vicente Redfeather. The buyer, Virgil Kane, Territorial Land Company. His stomach sank. "That's my father," Kaya said. Her voice was steady, but her hands had curled into fist. "Indeed," Kane said. "He sold the land to me, legally. I then sold it to Mr. Garrison a week later. All documented, all recorded." Sam checked the dates. June 3rd. His own deed was dated June 10th. "Wait," he said. "If you bought it on the 3rd, why does my deed say I bought it from the territorial office? Not from you?" Kane's smile didn't waver. "I purchased it as an agent of the territory. Standard procedure. The important point is that the transaction was legal and binding." Kaya stepped forward. "My father died in March of 75. He couldn't have signed anything in 76. The room went very quiet. The clerk shifted uncomfortably. Kane's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. "That's a serious accusation," Kane said softly. "It's the truth," Kaya said. Kane closed the binder. "Then I suggest you bring proof. A death certificate, witness testimony, something more than a piece of carved wood." He handed the binder back to the clerk. "Until then, the deed stands." The clerk took the binder and stamped a paper. He slid it across the counter to Sam. A single word in bold ink, "Denied." Sam picked it up. The paper was still damp. The smell of the ink was sharp, acrid. "You're making a mistake, Garrison," Kane said. His voice was calm, almost friendly. "The railroad's coming through. They need that parcel. I can offer you a fair price, better than fair, $300. Enough to buy land somewhere else. Start fresh." "And if I don't sell?" Kane's smile returned. "Then the railroad will take it by eminent domain. You'll get whatever the judge decides is fair. Could be 100, could be 50. He leaned closer. "Or you could walk away now with 300 in your pocket, no trouble." Sam looked at Kaya. Her jaw was tight, her eyes blazing. He turned back to Kane. "We're not selling." Kane sighed, like a man disappointed in a child. He pulled out his pocket watch, checked it, and snapped it shut. "Suit yourself," he said. "But don't say I didn't warn you." He walked out. The clerk avoided their eyes. Sam and Kaya stood alone in the dim office, the denied petition between them. Outside, a door slammed. Footsteps echoed down the boardwalk, fading into the noise of the street. They didn't speak until they were out of town. The wagon rattled over the ruts, the horses plodding steady. Sam's hands were tight on the reins. Finally, Kaya said, "He forged it. I know. That's my father's name, but that's not his signature." Sam nodded. He'd seen enough documents in his life to know what a real signature looked like. The one on Kane's deed had been too smooth, too careful, like someone practicing. "We need proof," he said. "Where do we get that?" Sam thought for a moment. Then he turned the wagon east toward the mission on the hill. "Father Benedict keeps records," he said. "Baptisms, deaths, marriages. If your father died in 75, there'll be a record?" Kaya looked at him. "And if there is? Then we've got something to fight with." The mission came into view, white adobe walls glowing in the afternoon sun. Smoke rose from the chimney. Somewhere inside, a bell tolled once, low and resonant. Sam guided the horses through the gate. They stopped in the courtyard, dust settling around the wheels. Father Benedict stood in the doorway, a book in his hands. He was an old man, white-haired and stooped, but his eyes were sharp. Sam Garrison, he said. It's been a while. Father. Sam climbed down and helped Kaya from the wagon. We need your help. Benedict's gaze moved to Kaya. Recognition flickered across his face. I know you, he said quietly. You're Vicente's daughter. Kaya nodded. The priest closed his book slowly. Come inside. The records room was cool and dark, shelves lined with leather-bound ledgers. The smell of old paper and beeswax filled the air. Benedict lit a candle and set it on the table. What are you looking for? He asked. A death record, Sam said. Vicente Redfeather, March of 75. Benedict's face tightened. He pulled a ledger from the shelf and opened it, running his finger down the entries. He stopped, turned the book toward them. There, in careful script, Vicente Redfeather died March 14th, 1875, pneumonia, buried at Mission Cemetery. Kaya's breath hitched. Sam stared at the page. Kane's deed is dated June of 76, more than a year later. Benedict closed the ledger slowly. His hands were trembling. This isn't the first time, he said quietly. What do you mean? 3 widows came to me last year. All of them said Kane bought their land with deeds their husbands supposedly signed, but their husbands were dead. He looked at Sam, his face drawn. I didn't say anything. I should have, but I didn't. I was afraid. Sam's jaw clenched. How many? 3 that I know of. Maybe more. Kaya's voice was low, controlled. He's been forging deeds. For years. Benedict nodded. And no one stopped him because he's got the law on his side. The bank, the clerks, the judges, they all owe him something. Sam picked up the ledger. This is proof. We can show it to the railroad agent, to the territorial office. It's not enough, Benedict interrupted. Kane will say it's a coincidence, or that Vicente signed before he died. You need more than a date in a book. The candle flickered. Shadows danced across the walls. Kaya's voice was barely a whisper. Then what do we do? Father Benedict looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, You prove the signature itself is a forgery. The general store sat at the corner of Main and 3rd, a 2-story building with a false front and windows that caught the late afternoon sun. Sam had been inside a dozen times, buying nails or flour or coffee. He'd never paid much attention to who ran it. Now he did. The bell above the door chimed as they entered. The smell hit him first. Dried herbs, soap, tobacco, something sweet he couldn't name. Shelves lined the walls, packed tight with goods. A woman stood behind the counter, sorting through a stack of papers. She looked up. Her face was angular, her dark hair pulled back tight. Chinese, Sam realized. He'd heard there were a few families left after the railroad work dried up, but he'd never met any. Help you? She asked. Her English was clear, unaccented. Sam glanced at Kaya, then stepped forward, looking for Rosalie Chen. You found her. He hesitated. This wasn't something you just blurted out. We need advice. On a legal matter. Rosalie's eyes narrowed slightly. I sell dry goods, Mr. Garrison, not legal advice. You know who I am. Everyone knows who you are. You're the one who bought the Redfeather land? Her gaze shifted to Kaya. And I'm guessing this is Kaya Redfeather? Kaya said nothing. Rosalie set down her papers and came around the counter. She was small, barely 5 feet, but she moved with the kind of precision that suggested she didn't waste motion. Why are you here? She asked. We think Virgil Kane forged a deed, Sam said. We've got proof the signature couldn't be legitimate, but we need to prove the document itself is fake. Rosalie studied them both. Then she walked to the front window, looked out at the empty street, and pulled the shade down. Come with me, she said. The back room was smaller than the store, crammed with crates and barrels. A narrow desk sat against one wall covered in papers and bottles. Rosalie lit a lamp and gestured for them to sit. My husband worked for the railroad, she said. Survey crew, he found a silver claim in 74, good ones hut too, filed the paperwork, got it registered. She paused. 6 months later, a man named Kane showed up with a deed saying the claim was his, dated 2 weeks before my husband's filing. Sam's stomach tightened. What happened? My husband fought it, went to the territorial judge. Judge said Kane's deed took precedence. She picked up one of the bottles. Ink, Sam realized. My husband died 3 months later. Accident, they said. Horse spooked, threw him into a ravine. You think Kane? I think, Rosalie interrupted, that men like Kane don't leave loose ends. She set the ink down carefully. So when you say you need to prove forgery, I believe you, and I might be able to help. Kaya leaned forward. How? Rosalie pulled a thick book from under the desk. The cover was worn, the title in gold leaf, Chemical Properties and Industrial Applications. She opened it to a marked page. Ink, she said. Every batch is different. Different formulas, different manufacturers, different years. If Kane forged that deed recently, but claimed it was from 76, the ink will tell the truth. Sam stared at the book. You can test that. I can. My father was a chemist in San Francisco. Taught me before he died. She looked at Kaya. Do you have the deed or a copy? Kane has it, Sam said. At the land office. Then we need to see it, compare it to other documents from that year. And she closed the book. I'll need samples. Official papers from 76, something we know is legitimate. The mission, Kaya said quietly. Father Benedict has records, baptisms, land grants, all dated. Rosalie nodded. That could work, but you'll need to move fast. If Kane suspects you're building a case, he'll make sure that deed disappears. Sam rubbed his face. Why are you doing this? You don't know us. Rosalie's expression didn't change. I know what it's like to have something stolen and no one believe you. If I can stop it happening to someone else... She stopped. That's reason enough. The room was quiet, except for the faint sound of the telegraph machine clicking in the corner. Sam hadn't noticed it before. I can also send inquiries, Rosalie said. Check when Kane's deed was actually registered with the county. Sometimes there's a delay between the date on the document and when it gets filed. If he forged it recently, that gap will show. How long will that take? Sam asked. 2 days, maybe 3. She looked at Kaya. Can you stay hidden that long? Kaya nodded. Good. Rosalie stood. Bring me samples from the mission. I'll start the tests. Sam rose as well. He pulled out his wallet, but Rosalie waved him off. No payment, she said, just a promise. What promise? That if you win, you'll help the next person Kane tries to cheat. Sam met her eyes. Then he nodded. As they left, Rosalie called after them. One more thing, be careful. Kane has eyes everywhere. If he finds out you're investigating... We know, Sam said. The bell chimed as they stepped back onto the street. The sun was lower now, painting the buildings gold. A few people passed, nodding at Sam, their eyes sliding over Kaya without recognition. She pulled the shawl tighter. They didn't go straight back to the ranch. Sam turned the wagon south, toward the open country where the land rolled into low hills. Kaya didn't ask why. When they were far enough from town that no one could see, Sam stopped. He climbed down and walked to the back, pulling out a coil of rope. What are you doing? Kaya asked. Teaching you something. He led her to where the horses were tied. The white Mustang stood apart from the others, ears back, eyes rolling. Sam had been trying to break him for 2 weeks. The horse wanted nothing to do with it. Your father raised horses, Sam said. You know how? Kaya looked at the Mustang. Some? Show me. She approached slowly, her steps light. The horse snorted and shifted, but didn't bolt. Kaya stopped a few feet away and crouched down, making herself smaller. She didn't look directly at the animal, just waited. Sam watched, silent. After a long moment, the Mustang's ears came forward. It took a cautious step closer. Kaya extended her hand, palm down. The horse sniffed, then lowered its head. She touched its muzzle gently, breathed out, slow and steady. The Mustang's breathing matched hers. Apache way, she said quietly. You don't force, you wait, you show the horse you're not a threat. Sam stepped closer. I've been doing it wrong. You've been doing it the way you were taught. She ran her hand along the horse's neck. But not everything has to be conquered. The Mustang stood still now, calm. Kaya picked up the rope and looped it loosely around its neck. The horse didn't flinch. She looked at Sam. Sometimes trust is stronger than control. He wanted to say something about the land, about Kane, about how she was right, but the words caught in his throat. Instead, he took the rope from her. Their hands touched. Just for a second. Her skin was warm. She didn't pull away. The sun dipped lower. The hills turned purple in the fading light. Somewhere in the distance, a hawk cried out. Kaya stepped back. We should go, before it's full dark. Sam nodded. He tied the Mustang to the wagon and climbed up. Kaya sat beside him, closer than before. The horses pulled steady. The land stretched out wide and quiet. Behind them, the Mustang followed without resistance. Sam was splitting wood when the rider came. He heard the hoofbeats before he saw the dust. One horse moving fast. He set down the axe and wiped his hands on his jeans. The rider was a boy, maybe 16, wearing a bank clerk's vest. He pulled up hard, the horse snorting and stamping. Mr. Garrison? That's me. Message from the bank. Mr. Hendricks wants to see you today. Sam's jaw tightened. About what? Didn't say. Just said it's urgent. The boy wheeled his horse around and kicked it into a trot, disappearing back down the trail. Kaya stepped out of the cabin. What was that? Trouble. The bank smelled like cigar smoke and old leather. Sam stood in front of Hendricks' desk, hat in hand. The bank manager was a heavy man with thinning hair and soft hands. He didn't look up when Sam entered. Sit, Hendricks said. Sam remained standing. Hendricks sighed and closed his ledger. Your loan. It's being called early? What? The $240 you owe, due in 14 days. Sam's hands curled around his hat brim. The agreement was 30 days. Agreements changed. Hendricks pushed a paper across the desk. New terms, signed by the board this morning. Sam picked up the paper. The ink was still fresh. You can't do this. I can. Says so right there in the original contract. Bank reserves the right to accelerate repayment under extenuating circumstances. What circumstances? Hendricks met his eyes for the first time. That's bank business. The door behind Sam opened. He didn't need to turn around to know who it was. The smell of bergamot cologne gave it away. Samuel, Kane said warmly. Didn't expect to see you here. Sam turned slowly. Kane stood in the doorway, hands clasped behind his back, that same easy smile on his face. This you're doing? Sam asked. Me? I'm just a concerned member of the community. Kane stepped into the room. But I did mention to Mr. Hendricks that you might be experiencing some financial strain. What with harboring fugitives and filing frivolous legal claims? Sam's jaw went tight. Now, Kane continued, I'm a reasonable man, and I hate to see good people suffer. He pulled a folded paper from his jacket. So I've prepared an offer. I'll buy your ranch. $150, cash, today. It's worth 4 times that. Was worth 4 times that. Before you made yourself a liability. Kane set the paper on the desk. With $150, you can pay off your loan and still have money left. Start somewhere else. Somewhere without all this complication. Sam looked at the offer. The numbers swam in front of him. Or, Kane said quietly, you could refuse. Default on the loan. Lose the ranch anyway and walk away with nothing. He leaned closer. Your choice. But the clock's ticking. Sam's hands shook. He wanted to hit something, wanted to throw Kane through the window, but that wouldn't solve anything. There's another option, Sam said. Oh? The Apache woman leaves, goes back to wherever she came from. And you extend my loan. Give me the full 30 days. Kane's smile widened. Now you're thinking clearly. Sam forced himself to hold Kane's gaze. Do we have a deal? Kane glanced at Hendricks. The bank manager nodded. Deal, Kane said. He extended his hand. Sam didn't take it. He turned and walked out. Behind him, he heard Kane chuckle. He rode straight back to the ranch. His chest felt tight, his hands cold despite the heat. When he reached the barn, Kaya was there. Brushing down the Mustang, she looked up. What happened? Sam couldn't speak for a moment. He just stood there, the sun beating down on his shoulders, the smell of hay and horse sweat thick in the air. Sam? They called my loan, he said finally. 14 days, $240, or I lose everything. Kaya set down the brush. Kane? Yeah, he rubbed his face. He offered to buy the ranch, for half what it's worth. What did you say? Sam looked at her, at the bruises on her wrists fading now but still visible, at the way she stood, straight-backed, chin up, even though she'd lost everything. I told him you'd leave, Sam said. That was the deal. You go, and he extends the loan. Kaya's face didn't change. I see. But I didn't shake on it. She blinked. What? I walked out. Sam took a step closer. Because I'm not making deals with men like him. Not anymore. Sam, you'll lose your ranch. Maybe, probably. He shook his head. But at least I'll lose it on my terms. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The Mustang nickered softly. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rumbled, then the sound of hoofbeats. Multiple horses this time, coming fast. Sam moved to the barn door. 4 riders crested the hill. Federal uniforms. Leading them was Marshal Dobbs, his face grim. Sam's blood went cold. Kaya, he said quietly. Get inside, now. Sam, now. She moved quickly, slipping through the back door of the cabin. Sam stepped into the yard, his rifle leaning against the porch rail. He didn't reach for it, not yet. The marshal pulled up 20 feet away. The other riders fanned out, hands near their sidearms. Sam Garrison, Dobbs called. Marshal. I've got a federal order. Relocation warrant for 1 Kaya Redfeather. Information says she's here. Sam's heart hammered. What information? Dobbs pulled a paper from his saddlebag. Anonymous tip, but reliable. He urged his horse forward a few steps. Don't make this hard, Sam. Just hand her over. She's not here. Then you won't mind if we search the property. Sam moved to block the porch steps. I do mind. This is private land. Federal warrant supersedes property rights. Dobbs shifted in his saddle. The leather creaked. Step aside, Sam, or I'll have to charge you with obstruction. Sam didn't move. The marshal's jaw tightened. You've got 48 hours. If she's not surrendered by noon on Thursday, I'm coming back with a full detail, and you'll be arrested along with her. For what? Harboring a fugitive. Interfering with federal relocation policy. Dobbs' voice dropped. That's 5 years hard labor, Sam. Is she worth that? Sam looked the marshal in the eye. Yes. Dobbs stared at him. Then he shook his head slowly. 48 hours. He turned his horse. The others followed. They rode back over the hill, dust rising in their wake. When the sound of hooves faded, Kaya emerged from the cabin. Her face was pale. 48 hours, she whispered. Sam looked at the horizon. The sky was darkening, storm clouds piling up in the west. Then we'd better move fast. Night came fast. Sam lit a lamp in the kitchen and set it on the table. Kaya sat across from him, her hands wrapped around a cup of coffee she hadn't touched. The survey stake lay between them, casting long shadows in the lamplight. You should go, Sam said quietly. She looked up. What? Run, tonight. I'll give you provisions, a horse. Head south to the border, or east into the territories, somewhere Kane can't reach. And you? I'll tell the marshal you left, that I didn't know where. He'll believe it or he won't, but at least you'll be safe. Kaya shook her head. That's not why you refused Kane's deal. No, but I'm not letting you get dragged back to San Carlos because of me. This isn't about you. Her voice was steady, quiet. It's about the land. My father's land. If I run now, Kane wins. And the next family, and the next, he'll do the same thing to them. Sam rubbed his jaw. He hadn't slept in 2 days. His eyes burned. We can't beat him, Kaya. He's got the law, the bank, the marshal. We've got proof. A date in a book and a carved stick. That's not enough. Then we get more. She pushed the coffee aside and leaned forward. Rosalie said she could test the ink. Father Benedict said there were other families. If we can show it's a pattern, we've got 48 hours. Then we use every one of them. Sam looked at her, at the determination in her eyes, the set of her jaw. She'd lost her father, her home, her people, and still she wouldn't break. He thought of his wife, how she'd fought the fever for 3 days, refusing to give up even when the doctor said there was no hope. He'd loved that about her, the stubbornness, the fire. He saw it in Kaya now. All right, he said. We fight. She reached across the table. Her hand covered his. Her palm was warm, rough from work. Together, she said. Together. For a moment, neither of them moved. The lamp flickered. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the shutters. Then Kaya pulled her hand back. She picked up the survey stake. This is our weapon. We just need to sharpen it. Sam nodded. I'll ride to the mission at first light. Get those document samples for Rosalie. You stay here, out of sight. What if the marshal comes back early? He won't. Dobbs is a lot of things, but he keeps his word. We've got 2 days. Kaya stood. I'll pack supplies, in case we need to move fast. She disappeared into the back room. Sam sat alone, staring at the lamp flame. His mind was already working through the plan. Get the samples, bring them to Rosalie, wait for her tests. If the ink was wrong, they'd have evidence, real evidence, enough to take to the railroad agent, maybe even the territorial governor. It was a long shot. But it was all they had. He heard footsteps on the porch. His hand went to his rifle. The door opened. Father Benedict stood in the doorway, his white hair wild from the wind. Sam, he said breathlessly, thank God you're still awake. Father, what are you doing here? Benedict stepped inside, glancing over his shoulder. I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about what we talked about, the forgeries, the deeds. He pulled off his coat, so I went through the records again. All of them. And I found something. He pulled a folded paper from his pocket. A letter, written by Vicente Redfeather 2 days before he died. He gave it to me for safekeeping, said if anything happened to him, I should make sure Kaya got it. Kaya emerged from the back room. She stopped when she saw the priest. Benedict held out the letter. His hand trembled. I'm sorry, I forgot about it. There were so many deaths that year, so many families. His voice cracked. But it's here, and it might help. Kaya took the letter carefully. The paper was yellowed, brittle. She unfolded it slowly. Her lips moved as she read. Tears welled in her eyes. What does it say? Sam asked. She looked up. He knew. My father knew Kane was going to forge the deed. He wrote it all down. The threats, the intimidation, everything. Her voice shook. He said if they killed him, this letter was proof. Benedict nodded. It's dated March 12, 75, 2 days before his death, witnessed by me and signed. Sam took the letter. The handwriting was shaky but clear. Every detail was there. Kane's offers, the refusals, the soldiers who came. At the bottom, Vicente's signature, and beside it, Father Benedict's witness mark. This changes everything, Sam said. Does it? Benedict asked. Will anyone believe it? Kane will say I forged it. Or that Vicente was confused, sick. Not if we have the ink test too, Kaya said. Not if we have everything together, the letter, the death record, the forged signature, the other families. Sam folded the letter carefully. We bring it all to the railroad agent. Force him to investigate before the deal closes. When does the deal close? Benedict asked. 10 days, maybe less. The priest closed his eyes. God help us. Outside, lightning flashed. Thunder rolled across the valley, low and deep. The storm was coming. Sam looked at Kaya. Get some rest. Tomorrow we finish this. She nodded. One way or another. Sam rode into town just after dawn. The street was empty, except for a stray dog and the shopkeeper sweeping his porch. Sam kept his head down, his hat low. He tied his horse behind the general store and slipped in through the back door. Rosalie was already awake, hunched over her desk with a magnifying lens. She didn't look up when he entered. You're early, she said. Didn't sleep much. Sam set a canvas bag on the desk. Got the samples. Church records from 76, baptisms, marriages, land transfers, all dated and signed. Rosalie opened the bag and pulled out the papers carefully. She spread them across the desk, comparing edges and watermarks. Then she took out a small glass vial, ink dark and viscous. This is from the same batch the mission used in 76, she said. I tested it yesterday against their current stock, different formula entirely, and she dipped a thin brush into the vial and made a mark on a scrap of paper. Now we compare. She moved to Kane's deed. Sam had managed to get a copy from the land office clerk for $1. Rosalie held the magnifying lens over the signature line. Her breath caught. What? Sam asked. She didn't answer, just moved the lens slowly across the page. Then she set it down and looked at him. The ink's wrong, she said. You're sure? Positive. This Prussian blue formula wasn't available until 75. The mission was still using carbon black in 76. She pointed to the date at the top of Kane's deed. This document claims to be from June 76, but the ink is from 75 at the earliest. And look, she tilted the page toward the light. The paper's fresh, no foxing, no age spots. This was written recently. Sam's pulse quickened. How recently? Last year, maybe this year. She pulled out another paper, a telegram. And this came in last night. County records show Kane's deed was registered on July 2nd, 76, a month after the date written on the document. So he backdated it. Exactly. Forged the signature, backdated the deed, then filed it after your purchase went through. She folded the telegram. He made one mistake. He used fresh materials to fake an old document. Sam let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. This is it. This is what we need. It's evidence, Rosalie said. But you'll need to present it to someone who'll listen. The railroad agent's coming Thursday to inspect the route. We bring everything to him. The ink tests, the death records, Vicente's letter, the other families. Sam looked at her. Will you testify? Rosalie was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. Yes. It might cost you. Customers, reputation. I know what it'll cost. Her voice was firm. My husband died because no one would stand up to Kane. I won't let that happen again. The telegraph machine in the corner suddenly chattered to life. Rosalie moved to it, her fingers translating the clicks automatically. Her face went pale. What is it? Sam asked. She tore off the message and handed it to him. Warrant issued. Stop. Sam. Garrison. Arrest. Stop. Harboring. Fugitive. Stop. Marshal. En route. Stop. Sam's blood turned cold. It hasn't been 48 hours. Kane must have pressured him. Rosalie glanced toward the front window. You need to leave. Now. Sam grabbed the evidence papers and stuffed them into his jacket. If anyone asks, I never saw you. And he moved toward the back door, then stopped. Thank you for all of this. Just make sure it counts. He slipped out into the alley. The sun was higher now, warming the dust. He could hear voices from the main street, more people waking up, starting their day. Normal people with normal problems. He untied his horse and swung into the saddle. As he turned toward the edge of town, he saw them, 3 riders coming down Main Street. Marshal Dobbs in front, 2 deputies behind. They hadn't seen him yet. Sam urged his horse into the narrow gap between buildings. The animal's hooves echoed on the hard-packed earth. He came out on the north side of town and kicked into a gallop. Behind him, a shout. They'd spotted him. Sam leaned low over the horse's neck. The ranch was 5 miles. He could make it. He had to. The sound of hoofbeats grew louder. They were gaining. He cut east, off the main trail, into the scrub brush. The horse stumbled once on loose rock, but recovered. Sam didn't slow. A rifle shot cracked the air too high. Warning shot. Sam risked a glance back. The marshal was 50 yards behind, closing fast. The deputies had fanned out, trying to cut him off. Then Sam saw the ravine ahead, 20 feet across, maybe 30 feet deep. No bridge, no way around. He had seconds to decide. He dug his heels in. The horse surged forward. They hit the edge at full speed and launched into empty air. The horse's hooves hit solid ground. Sam's teeth slammed together, his spine jolting, but they were across. The ravine yawned behind them, and on the far side the marshal pulled his horse up short. No way to follow without going miles around. Sam didn't wait to see what they'd do. He rode hard for the ranch. When he arrived, Kaya was standing in the yard with a rifle. She lowered it when she saw him. "They came early," Sam said, swinging down. "Marshal's got an arrest warrant." "For you?" "For both of us now." He pulled the evidence papers from his jacket. "But we've got what we need." Rosalie confirmed it. "The ink's wrong. The registration date's wrong. It's all forged." Kaya's eyes went to the horizon. "How long do we have?" "An hour, maybe 2. Sam moved toward the cabin. "We need to get to the railroad agent before Dobbs gets here." Where is he?" "Should be at the surveyor camp, east side of the valley, if we can reach him first." The sound of hoofbeats stopped him cold. But these weren't coming from town. They were coming from the hills. Multiple riders, moving fast. Sam's hand went to his rifle. Kaya raised hers. Then he saw the lead rider crest the ridge. Tall, older, long gray hair tied back. He wore traditional Apache clothing, a rifle across his saddle. Kaya's breath caught. "Uncle." The riders, 6 of them, came down the slope and stopped 30 yards from the cabin. The older man dismounted slowly. His face was weathered, deeply lined. He looked at Kaya for a long moment. "Swift Elk," she said quietly. She lowered her rifle. He approached on foot. His eyes moved from her to Sam, assessing. "Father Benedict sent word," he said. His English was accented but clear. "Said you needed help." Kaya shook her head. "You shouldn't be here. If the soldiers find you, let them find me." Swift Elk's voice was hard. "You are family. That matters more than their laws." He turned to Sam. "You are the one who shelters her?" "Yes." "Why?" Sam met his gaze. "Because it's right." Swift Elk studied him. Then he looked past Sam at the cabin, the barn, the land stretching toward the creek. "This was my brother's land, before the government stole it. I know. I didn't know when I bought it, but I know now." "And you fight for her claim?" "For both our claims. The deed that sold this land was forged." Swift Elk's jaw tightened. "By the man with the silver watch. You know Kane?" "I know men like him. They take and take until there is nothing left." He turned to his riders and spoke in Apache. They dismounted. "We will stand with you." The marshal's coming," Sam said, with deputies. "If you're here when they arrive, then let them come." Swift Elk pulled something from his belt, an eagle feather, white-tipped. He held it out to Kaya. "Your father carried this. He would want you to have it now." Kaya took the feather, her hands trembling. Tears streaked her face. "I thought you blamed me for his death." "I blamed myself for not protecting him." Swift Elk's voice softened. "But hiding does not honor the dead. Fighting does." He turned back to Sam. "You have proof? Real proof?" "Documents, ink tests, witness testimony." Then we take it to whoever will listen." Swift Elk gestured to his men. "We ride with you." Sam looked at the group. Kaya, Swift Elk, 6 Apache warriors armed and ready, against a federal marshal in the full weight of Kane's influence. It was madness. It was also the only chance they had. "All right," Sam said. "We go together." Kaya placed the eagle feather carefully inside her shirt, against her heart. She looked at Sam. "The railroad agent?" "The railroad agent." Sam checked his rifle. "If we can get to him before the marshal catches up, we might have a shot." Swift Elk mounted his horse. "Then we ride now." The group moved as one, horses kicking up dust as they turned east toward the surveyor camp. Sam rode beside Kaya, Swift Elk just ahead. Behind them, the sound of distant hoofbeats echoed from the west. The marshal was coming. But now, so were they. The surveyor camp sat in a clearing near the rail line. Canvas tents, equipment wagons, and a table set up under an awning. A man in a gray suit stood examining maps, his sleeves rolled up despite the heat. 2 railroad guards flanked him, rifles across their chests. Sam and his group approached slowly, hands visible. The guards tensed but didn't raise their weapons. The man in the suit looked up. He was younger than Sam expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and no-nonsense bearing. "Can I help you?" he asked. Sam dismounted. "You the railroad agent?" "John Aldrich, route supervisor for the Southern Pacific." His gaze moved to Swift Elk and the others. And you are? Sam Garrison, I own land on your proposed route, Section 12, Range 4. Aldrich's expression shifted. Ah, Mr. Garrison, I was told you'd been causing difficulties. Told by who? Mr. Kane. He handles land acquisition for this section. Aldrich gestured to the table. He informed me your deed is under dispute. Something about unpaid debts? That's a lie. Sam pulled the papers from his jacket, and I've got proof. Proof that Kane's been forging land deeds for years. Aldrich set down his compass. That's a serious accusation. And I can back it up. Sam spread the documents on the table. Vicente's letter, the death record, the ink analysis, the registration discrepancies. This woman, he gestured to Kaya, is Kaya Redfeather. Her father owned this land under a Spanish land grant from 1848, treaty protected. When he refused to sell, Kane forged a deed claiming her father sold it after he was already dead. Aldrich picked up Vicente's letter. He read slowly, his brow furrowing. This is dated 75. 2 days before Vicente Redfeather died, Sam said. Father Benedict witnessed it. He'll testify. And this? Aldrich held up Rosalie's ink analysis. Chemical proof. The ink on Kane's deed is from the wrong year. The paper's too fresh. And the county registration shows he filed it a month after the date written on the document. Aldrich studied the papers. His jaw worked. If what you're saying is true, it is true, Kaya said. Her voice was quiet, but steady. And my family isn't the only one. There are others, widows, orphans. All of them cheated the same way. Aldrich looked at her for a long moment, then at Swift Elk, who had dismounted and now stood with his arms crossed, the eagle feather visible in his hand. And you are? Aldrich asked. Her uncle. I speak for the Apache families who lost land to this man's lies. The sound of horses interrupted them. Sam turned. A group was approaching from the west. Marshal Dobbs, his deputies, and behind them Virgil Kane. Sam's hand moved toward his rifle. Swift Elk's men shifted, weapons ready. Easy, Aldrich said sharply. No one fires unless I say so. The marshal rode up and dismounted. His face was red, dusty. Mr. Aldrich, I've got a federal warrant for Sam Garrison and the Apache woman harboring a fugitive, obstruction. Marshal, Aldrich interrupted. I'm in the middle of something. Kane stepped forward. He looked calm, composed, but Sam saw the tension in his shoulders. John, don't let these people waste your time. Garrison's a debtor, trying to avoid foreclosure. The woman's a fugitive, from relocation. This is all... Mr. Kane, Aldrich said quietly. When were you planning to tell me about the disputed land titles? Kane's smile faltered. There are no disputes. All the deeds are legal and registered. Including this one? Aldrich held up Vicente's letter. Written by a man who apparently sold you land a year after he died? Kane's eyes flicked to the letter. His jaw tightened. That's a forgery. These people are desperate. The ink says otherwise. And Aldrich set the letter down. I've got chemical analysis here showing your deed was written recently, not in 76. And county records showing you filed it a month late. He folded his arms. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I know fraud when I see it. John, I can explain. Can you explain the 3 widows Father Benedict mentioned? The ones who lost their land the exact same way? Kane's face went pale. He glanced at the marshal. Dobbs, arrest these people. Now. The marshal didn't move. Dobbs, Kane said again, his voice rising. I said arrest them. Dobbs looked at Kane, then at Sam, then at the papers on the table. His hand drifted to his sidearm, but he didn't draw. Marshal, Aldrich said, do you have evidence to support your warrant? Dobbs hesitated. Mr. Kane provided testimony that Garrison was harboring. Mr. Kane's testimony appears to be unreliable. Aldrich tapped the papers. Given that he's been lying about land ownership for years, Kane took a step forward. His hand went to his jacket. You don't understand. The railroad needs this land. The route can't change now. If you investigate this, it'll delay everything for months. Then it delays. Aldrich's voice was flat. The Southern Pacific doesn't build on fraud. Kane's face twisted. You're making a mistake. I've invested everything in this deal. I've got debts. He stopped himself, breathing hard. Gambling debts? Dobbs said quietly. Everyone turned to look at the marshal. Dobbs pulled a folded paper from his pocket. He's been holding this over me for 6 months. $800 I owe to a railroad card game. He said he'd forgive it if I helped him clear the land route. He held the paper out to Aldrich. I should have refused. I didn't. That's on me. Aldrich took the paper. He looked at Kane. Is this true? Kane said nothing. Guards, Aldrich said, detain Mr. Kane until we can sort this out. The railroad guards moved forward. Kane backed up, his hand going to his pocket watch. You can't do this. I have contracts, agreements, all based on forged deeds. Aldrich nodded to the guards. Take him. They grabbed Kane's arms. He struggled for a moment, then went still. His eyes found Sam's, cold, hateful. This isn't over, Kane said. Sam met his gaze. Yeah, it is. The guards led Kane away. The marshal stood alone, his face hollow. I'll need to take formal statements, Aldrich said, from all of you, and I'll want to interview those widows Father Benedict mentioned. He looked at Sam and Kaya. If everything checks out, and I believe it will, the railroad will recognize the joint claim. We'll route around the disputed parcel. Kaya's knees nearly gave out. Sam caught her arm. Swift Elk stepped forward. He placed the eagle feather on the table, beside Vicente's letter. My brother's spirit can rest now. Aldrich looked at the feather, then at Swift Elk. I'll make sure the territorial governor hears about this. The other families deserve justice too. Justice. Swift Elk's voice was bitter. We will see. He turned and walked back to his horse. His men followed. Kaya watched them go. Uncle, she called. Swift Elk stopped. He looked back. Thank you, she said. He nodded once. Then he mounted and rode north, disappearing into the hills. Marshal Dobbs cleared his throat. For what it's worth, he said quietly. I'm sorry. Sam looked at him. You could have stopped this months ago. I know. Dobbs' voice was heavy. I'll turn in my badge. Face whatever consequences come. Aldrich waved a hand. That's for the territorial court to decide. For now, I need you to file a formal report. Everything Kane did, everyone he bribed, every deed he forged. Dobbs nodded slowly. Yes, sir. He walked away, shoulders slumped. Sam turned to Kaya. She was staring at the feather on the table, tears running down her face. It's over, she whispered. Yeah, Sam said. It's over. Aldrich gathered the papers. I'll need a few days to process all this. But your land is secure, both of you. He paused. You'll need to formalize the partnership. Legal papers? Boundary agreements? I can recommend a lawyer in Tucson. We'll handle it, Sam said. Aldrich nodded. Good. Now if you'll excuse me, I've got a very uncomfortable telegram to send to my superiors. He walked back to his tent. The guards followed, leaving Sam and Kaya alone in the clearing. The sun was directly overhead now, blazing hot. Dust hung in the still air. Somewhere in the distance, a hawk cried. Kaya picked up the eagle feather. She held it carefully, as if it might break. My father would be proud, she said. Sam nodded. He'd be proud of you. She looked at him. We did it, together. Together, Sam agreed. For a moment, they just stood there, the weight of everything finally lifting. Then Kaya smiled, a real smile, the first he'd seen from her, and Sam found himself smiling back. The bank was quiet when Sam walked in 3 days later. Hendricks looked up from his desk, his face going pale. Mr. Garrison. Sam set a leather pouch on the desk. It landed with a heavy thud. $260, payment in full, plus interest. Hendricks opened the pouch slowly. His hands shook as he counted the bills and coins. How did you... Sold horses, trained them myself. Sam leaned against the desk. Well, me and a partner. Hendricks finished counting. He pulled out a ledger and made a notation, his pen scratching across the page. Then he stamped a paper and slid it across. Paid in full. Your lien is cleared. Sam picked up the paper. The ink was still wet. He folded it carefully and tucked it into his jacket. One more thing, Sam said. I want to open an account. Joint ownership. Hendricks blinked. With who? Kaya Redfeather. The banker's face went rigid. Mr. Garrison, I don't care what you think. Sam's voice was quiet but hard. The territorial governor's office is investigating every transaction Kane touched, including this bank's involvement. So, unless you want to be the next one answering questions, I suggest you open that account? Hendricks swallowed. He pulled out a fresh form. Names? Samuel Garrison and Kaya Redfeather. Equal shares. The pen scratched. Hendricks blotted the page and turned it around. Sign here. Sam signed. Then he walked out into the sunlight. Kaya was waiting by the wagon, wearing a simple dress Rosalie had given her. She looked up when Sam approached. Done? Done. Liens paid. Accounts open. He handed her the bank book. We're partners. Legal and official. She opened it, staring at her name written in careful script. I've never had a bank account before. Neither did I, till 5 years ago. Sam climbed onto the wagon. Figured it was time we both did. She climbed up beside him. Where to now? Mission. Father Benedict's got the partnership papers ready. We sign, we're official landowners. The wagon rolled down Main Street. People watched from windows and doorways. Some nodded, others looked away. Sam didn't care either way. At the general store, Rosalie stood on the porch. She waved. Sam tipped his hat. When they reached the mission, Father Benedict was in the courtyard tending the herb garden. He looked up and smiled. "Right on time," he said. Inside, the records room was cool and shadowed. Benedict spread 2 documents on the table, partnership agreements, meticulously written in his neat hand. "This one establishes joint ownership," he said, pointing. "Equal shares, equal rights. If one of you dies, the property goes to the other. If you both agree to sell, proceeds are split 50-50. Sam read through it carefully. Everything looked right. "And this one?" Kaya asked, touching the second document. "That's a deed amendment, recognizes both the U.S. homestead claim and the Spanish land grant. Essentially creates a hybrid title." Benedict adjusted his spectacles. "It's unusual, but the territorial office approved it. Said it sets a precedent for future disputes." Kaya's eyes widened. "My father's grant is recognized?" "Officially, as of yesterday." Benedict smiled. "Your family's name is on the land again." She covered her mouth, tears spilling over. Sam touched her shoulder gently. "Ready to sign?" She nodded. Benedict dipped a pen in fresh ink and handed it to Sam. He signed his name on both documents. Then Kaya took the pen. Her hand trembled slightly as she wrote, but the signature was clear and strong. Benedict blotted the pages and pressed his seal into the wax. "Witnessed and recorded. You're official." Sam shook his hand. "Thank you, Father, for everything. I should have done more sooner." Benedict's voice was heavy. "But at least now," he paused, "at least now it's right." They walked out into the sunlight. The mission bell tolled, marking the hour. Kaya stopped in the courtyard and looked back at the building. "He would have liked this," she said quietly. "My father, knowing his name is still on the land." "It'll stay there," Sam said. "Long as I'm alive." She turned to him. "And after?" "After, it's yours, to do with what you want." What if I want to share it?" Her eyes met his. "What if I want to build something here, together?" Sam's chest tightened. He'd been thinking the same thing for days now, maybe weeks. But he hadn't known how to say it. "I'd like that," he said. She smiled. "Good." They climbed onto the wagon. Sam clicked his tongue, and the horses moved forward, pulling them down the dusty road toward home. The sun was setting when they reached the creek. Sam stopped the wagon at the boundary line, the exact spot where his land met hers, or where it had before the partnership made the distinction meaningless. Kaya climbed down and walked to the water's edge. She knelt and placed the survey stake upright in the soft earth. Then she took the eagle feather from her shirt and tied it to the top with a strip of leather. "A marker," she said. "So we remember," Sam joined her. "Remember what?" "That some things can't be divided. Land, water, sky." She looked at him. "People." He nodded slowly. They stood there as the sun dropped below the hills, painting the creek gold and orange. The water burbled over smooth stones. A hawk circled overhead, calling once before disappearing into the dusk. "What do we do now?" Kaya asked. Sam looked at the land, his land, her land, their land. "We work it, together, see what grows." She slipped her hand into his. Her palm was warm, rough, familiar now. "I think we'll grow something good," she said. Sam squeezed her hand gently. "Yeah, I think so too." Behind them, the white Mustang grazed peacefully in the field. The cabin lights glowed warm in the gathering dark, and the creek sang its endless song, indifferent to deeds and borders in the long, hard fight it had taken to stand here. Some things just were, and that was enough. Now, I tell you this story because it matters. Not because it's fancy or because it ended the way stories are supposed to, but because it's true. And truth is getting harder to find these days. Virgil Kane got 10 years for fraud. The territorial court found 17 forged deeds, 17 families he'd cheated. Some of those families got their land back. Some had already moved on, scattered to the wind. You can't always undo what's been broken. The 3 widows Father Benedict mentioned, they each received compensation from the railroad. Not enough to replace what was stolen, but enough to start over. Sometimes that's all you get, a second chance instead of justice. Marshal Dobbs turned in his badge. Last I heard, he was working as a ranch hand up near Flagstaff, doing honest work for honest pay. Some men find redemption that way, others never do. Sam and Kaya worked that land for 30 years. Built a house where the old cabin stood. Raised horses, good ones, the kind people traveled miles to buy. She taught him about the soil, about reading the weather, about patience. He taught her about contracts and banks and how to fight the law when the law's wrong. They taught each other how to trust again. Folks in San Rafael eventually stopped talking about them, or maybe they just ran out of things to say. Hard to keep gossiping when the people you're gossiping about just keep on living decent lives. The survey stake still stands at the creek. You can see it if you ride out that way. Carved symbols on one side, Sam's brand on the other, and an eagle feather tied to the top. Faded now, but still there. 2 histories in one piece of wood, 2 names on one deed. The law said she had no claim. The land said different, and sometimes when the law and the land disagree, it's the land that remembers. It's the land that tells the truth. Some deeds are written in ink, some are written in action, and the ones that last, those are written in dirt, water, and trust. You can't forge those.